Right now, crews are searching a wider patch of the Java Sea, looking for AirAsia Flight 8501, which vanished with 162 people on board. But the grim truth, as laid bare by the man in charge of the search, the plane is likely at the bottom of the sea. Here's what we know happened. The Airbus A320 left the city of Surabaya in Indonesia at 5:36 Sunday morning. About half an hour later, it was heading toward a patch of bad weather. The pilot asked air traffic control if they could climb higher to avoid it. Within minutes, at 6:17, the plane vanished from radar, and there's been no trace of it since. Senior correspondent Adrian Arsenault has more from Washington. Adrian.
Paul, Airbus maintains that every 2 seconds somewhere in the world, an Airbus 320 either takes off or lands. It is a reliable, safe workhorse of the sky, and yet that fact does not matter one whit when one of those planes goes missing. Day 3, an expanded search zone. More ships, planes, and helicopters, more eyes staring into the mercurial Java Sea and the islands that surround it. On day 2, evidence of debris first gave searchers hope. Then they realized it was just ocean garbage. This search day has to be better because the more hours that pass without a clear sense of where AirAsia Flight 8501 and all those souls ended up, the harder everything will be. Debris will scatter, sink, especially in bad weather. These searchers understand the frustration. Some of those dispatch search planes are the same ones that looked seemingly endlessly for MH370. But surely the fate of the AirAsia flight won't be a mystery for long. There are already clues. Firstly, in the bad weather, lightning and thunderstorms that reached as high as 40,000 feet. Extreme weather, but not unusual for this busy patch of sky. Have a look. This is the traffic at the time. Plenty of other flights moving through the weather. Typically, planes try to move around bad weather, but we know that at 6:13, while at 32,000 feet, the crew asked to climb because of storm clouds, potentially to avoid heavy turbulence. That request was denied because of heavy traffic. And yet, the last known location of the plane was at 36,300 feet. It had climbed anyway. What was happening?
We don't really want to speculate until we find the aircraft. We know what went wrong, then we'll look into it and see, what we need to improve, if we need to improve. But it's speculation at the moment, so it's premature to talk at the moment.
Conclusions are indeed a long way off, but there are intriguing tips. This is a leaked and still unverified screen grab said to originate from Indonesian air traffic control. It puts Flight 8501's last position at moving at 353 knots, much slower than another nearby plane. If this is accurate, was the plane struggling, heading into a stall? It's an early theory based on history. A stall in bad weather contributed to the crash of Air France Flight 447, when in 2009 a storm affected sensors, giving pilots a false speed reading. It took years to figure that out. Answers won't come easily here either. And beware of distracting details, as in a plane in distress not issuing a distress signal.
It's not necessarily a surprise if you're in an emergency that they're not actually narrating play-by-play what's happening over air traffic.
But where is it? Indonesia has been quick to ask for help, reaching out to the U.S., France, and Britain for equipment, sonar gear, and search vessels. In the sad event, AirAsia 8501 is on the ocean floor. What a horror for those waiting. Now, you may remember all that talk about installing real-time flight trackers on planes so that never again would there be another MH370 situation. Well, AirAsia wasn't planning on waiting for regulators to insist on those trackers being installed. It was in the midst of putting them in its entire fleet. It just hadn't yet put one of those trackers on this plane. Paul?
Thanks, Adrian. Adrian Arsenault tonight in Washington.